Hey, yo. When your wallet feels like it's constantly pushing a boulder up the hill, and you're looking over your shoulder because creditors have no chill, and they're lying to you on social, you're just looking for something real. Come and learn to love it with Brunch and Budget. This is the finance you could feel. Welcome to Brunch and Budget, the show about personal finance and racial economic inclusion with your host, Pamela Capallet, a certified financial planner and accredited financial counselor, here to take the fight out of your budget. I'm your sound provider, Dialect, and here's your host, Pamela Capallet.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year.
Also got to let you know, Brunch and Budget is part of the Race and Wealth Network.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Let them know.
Happy New Year and everything like that too. We're back. It's a new season.
It's a new season, I guess.
New season. We're doing things new.
We just need a break, honestly.
We took a little bit of a break. We stopped for a little bit, and now we're back doing things a little bit differently.
Yes.
We're not on Instagram Live, and we're doing this on StreamYard, and this is going to be sent out not only to our podcast, part of the Race and Wealth Podcast Network, but we'll also be going to Spondulix. Check out Spondulix TV. It's on spondulix.org. It's a really great program where they put together financial education-based programming with video contests. We're pretty proud to be a part of that.
Yeah, we're super excited. It's also going to be on Facebook, on YouTube. We'll do it around 2-ish every Sunday or so.
Yeah, we're going to see how we go.
Yeah.
This is all an experiment. We'll be continuing to grow and change. As always, throw any comments, questions, ideas, thoughts, fears in the chat, challenges, anything like that. And if you want to holler at us on the podcast app, you can leave a rating, give us a 5-star thing, give us a 1-star thing, but tell us why either way.
Yes, exactly. Leave some comments. All right, everybody. So we're going to talk about a couple things that are on people's mind. Number one is that stimulus package.
Yeah, so the stimulus package came.
It came out. You may have already gotten your check. Who knows, right?
Well, because the stimulus package is more than just a check, right?
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of other stuff. So we'll be talking about unemployment. We'll be talking about the stimulus checks. We'll be talking about PPP loans. We'll be talking about EIDL. We'll be talking about a whole bunch of tax deductions that got extended and things like that.
We had a conversation about this on IG Live with everyday people. If you want to check out some of the ins and outs about the PPP, we talked a little bit about that there, but we're going to talk about it more here.
Yes. And the other thing we're going to talk about and we're going to start with is a huge thing that got passed in California, Prop 22. If you haven't heard of it, maybe you don't live in California. If you have heard of it, you probably live in California because it was horrible. It was a terrible thing to be passed. It was terrible for gig economy workers. It was terrible for consumers.
I think they named 4 or 5 different grocery stores that fired a huge swath of their workers, all the ones that are doing driving. You got that?
I have them here.
Right? Yeah,
Vons, Pavilions, and Albertsons announced they'd be firing all of their full-time benefits receiving delivery staff.
I'm not a West Coast cat, so most of those places are not familiar to me. I know Vons, but the other ones, I was like, I don't know those guys.
Yeah, Albertsons. I know Albertsons. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Please leave any questions you have in the comments. We will answer them as we go.
Also, as always, while we have some expertise, we are not experts. If you know some facts and figures or some really misunderstood things, some myths that you want to unpack, please feel free to share it with us.
Yeah, let us know.
Because if you got the good word, we want to spread it around.
So before we really dive in, I want to start with some vocab words.
Ooh, vocab words.
Just one today.
What's the vocab word for today?
So the vocab word for today is payroll tax.
Payroll tax.
Yeah, it's been floating around lately.
Wasn't that in the last stimulus, the thing that happened?
It wasn't a stimulus, it was an executive order.
Right, but it's part of the whole party that was happening.
Yeah, all the stuff that people were trying to pass.
In the spring, right?
Yes, in the spring, and then Donald Trump passed it actually in the fall through an executive order. He passed it, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, payroll tax, the way that it works is you as an employee or as an independent contractor are responsible for payroll tax. So the payroll tax is made up of 1, Social Security tax and 2, Medicare tax. So Social Security tax is 12.4% of your income up to $140,000. So that's one to keep in mind. Social Security tax basically means that you do not get charged Social Security tax after you make more than $140,000.
Right.
The other thing is Medicare tax. Medicare tax is 2.9% of your income. So the total combined on these payroll taxes is 15.3%. That's an important number to remember if you're a gig worker or if you're an independent contractor.
So it's 15% of your total income.
15.3% of your total income is made up of Social Security and Medicare tax. tax. That's payroll tax. Now, the reason why it's called payroll tax, it's also called FICA tax, if you've heard of that, which stands for Federal Insurance Contributions Act. The reason why it's called payroll tax is because traditionally, when you are hired by an employee and you're a W-2 employee, employers are required to pay half the tax. So they pay 7.65% of your taxes and the employee pays the other half, right?
Right.
So that's great. That's really expensive for the employer and a really good deal for the employee. It's one of the benefits of being an employee.
Well, I know we've done before the calculation of when you're looking for a job and a base salary, when you look at these benefits, you actually add some money to that.
Yeah,
so
you got to add 7.6% in taxes. That's a huge amount, right? And so when you're an independent contractor, when you're a gig worker, when you work for Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, any of those folks, you're paying the full 15.3% of payroll taxes.
Mm-hmm. And they don't have to pay it at all.
They don't have to pay it at all. They push the cost onto you because you're an independent contractor. So you're not employed by any of these folks. You are self-employed. Now payroll tax is called self-employment tax, and you pay 15.3%. It's the same taxes. It's Social Security and Medicare, but you pay them.
Well, can we talk about expertise? I want to ask you a question about this because people are often talking now about, well, if we raise the minimum wage, that it's going to cost people a lot more. And it sounds like on the employer side, right? Well, it's just going to be tough, right? And like small businesses are going to have trouble hiring people. And on the employer side, it seems like it's already a lot. And I know that you employ people and payroll tax. So like if Uber and Lyft had to pay these payroll taxes, would that mean that they just can't hire as many people and it would ruin their business? Is that what the deal is with that?
Well, I don't know if it would ruin their business, right? So they may not be able to hire as many people, but I mean, as it stands now, Uber is losing $1.09 billion a quarter. So they're not making any money anyway.
A quarter? $2 billion? A quarter?
1.09, my bad.
1.09.
Yeah.
They're losing $1 billion a quarter.
In 2019, they were net negative $8.15 billion.
So that was $2 billion a quarter.
With their drivers as independent contractors.
Wow.
So their business isn't solvent right now anyway.
They're losing money as it is.
Yeah, so they were like, oh, no. We can't pay our workers as employees. Here's what would happen though. The reason why Uber can do this is because they only pay you for when you're actively engaged. They call it engaged hours, right? So engaged hours mean that you have a passenger in your car or you're driving to the location to pick up the passenger, right? So all of that time that you spend on the app, but waiting to actually get a ride or whatever it is, or waiting to get a delivery, you're not paid for. If you were an employee, you'd be required to pay for those hours that you were waiting because technically you're on the clock.
Yeah.
You're waiting to work.
That's like you go into the office and then you're not getting paid for like your bathroom breaks and your coffee breaks, or even when you're checking your email to find out what the next assignment is. None of that is paid hours.
None of that is paid hours. It's only like literally when you hit the app and you're on your way to a ride or when you're on the ride itself.
Man, I know some companies that would love to be able to do that.
Right. And that is one of the downsides of being an independent contractor is you only get paid for the hours you work. This is why independent contractors need to charge more for their hours because they're not getting paid for the invoicing, the marketing, the waiting around, all of those hours that you're not working, you're not getting paid for as an independent contractor. And Uber and Lyft have taken that. It's like they took the clocking in and clocking out to a whole other level, right?
Right.
It's like, you only get paid when you're engaged.
It's like quantum clocking out because it's not just on the time thing. It's like every little bit of whether you're doing the thing for them counts as work. And if it's like not the thing that they want to count as work,
then they don't have to.
They don't have to.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense that even though you're on the app and you're available to work, why aren't you getting paid? Because you're clearly not going to do anything else while you're waiting for a ride, right?
That's the thing of it. There's this like implied exclusivity. It's not an actual contractual exclusivity. Yeah. Technically, you could, have a job as a juggler in between. Do something like in the minutes, but you really can't.
You can't.
Practically.
This is why when you are an employee, you have the benefit of that downtime, right? And getting paid for that downtime.
Well, that's what the contract really is. It's me saying, hey, I'm going to pay for, you're going to pay for my time and I'm going to definitely be here to do the work for you.
Like think about it. If you work at a store and you're a clerk, right? And you only get paid when someone goes up to the cash register and buys something and not get paid for waiting for someone to come into the store. It's not your responsibility to get people into the store. It's your responsibility to wait until someone needs to buy something. So if you were a clerk and you were only paid when you were handling the cash register, right? That's the same thing that Uber is doing and Lyft is doing with these drivers.
I think folks get it now. Yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, Prop 22 was a direct response to AB5. If you are not familiar with AB5 in California, AB5, the goal was to more strictly define who was an independent contractor and who was an employee, right? And the intention for AB5 was actually to target companies like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, gig economy workers, where the workers should actually be classified as employees. So Uber and Lyft threatened to leave when AB5 passed. And what ended up happening with AB5 was that a whole swath of other small businesses and a whole swath of other independent contractors totally got screwed.
Yeah, the bars were having problems because they couldn't hire a guitarist to play in the bar as a contractor. They would have to put them on payroll.
Yeah, if you wanted to hire a virtual assistant, for instance, for a few hours a week, you had to take them as an employee instead. And if you're a solo entrepreneur who just needs some help a few hours a week, you're not going to do that, right?
I just talked about a guitarist playing a bar gig and a virtual assistant, and that and everything in between that is a contract gig has been screwed over completely.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were trying to get Uber and Lyft to classify their independent contractors as employees. Prop 22 was in direct response to that and basically negated all of it. Prop 22 exempts all of these delivery and rideshare services from AB5 completely. So the whole point of AB5 is now gone because Prop 22 passed.
Well, just for these guys though, like the small spots are still screwed over, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, you know. Well, because they're not exempt. Prop 22 didn't exempt them.
Mm-hmm.
Prop 22 didn't overturn AB5. It was an exception to AB5, this small exception.
That just so happens to only benefit the really huge companies.
Yep. Now, I think Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash and Postmates and Instacart spent over $218 million to get a yes on Prop 22. Okay, so this Lyft ad is the reason it was shared around with all the drivers. I'm sure that Uber and Instacart, they basically got a bunch of drivers to sign a petition saying, hey, I want Prop 22 to pass. And here's why. Watch this ad. It's wild.
Lyft started as a new way to earn a little extra, open and available to people from all walks of life. That flexibility gives drivers the independence other jobs can't offer. Prop 22 will give them that and more.
Oh, more than flexibility.
Healthcare benefits,
Guaranteed earnings.
personal
Wow.
protections.
This sounds like
they
that
can maintain
they're employees of
flexible
Uber and Lyft.
But if drivers are forced to
Yeah,
become
healthcare.
employees,
Oh, listen.
up to 90% of app-based driving jobs could disappear. And the
Really?
jobs that are left,
I wanna
wouldn't
see the
have
stats on
flexibility
that.
they need. There would be set shifts, flat wages, and limits on when and where they could drive.
Flat wages
Flat wages.
rather than standard
About 4
wages.
to 1
That's a lot of black
want
folks
to
that just
maintain their
Wow. 4 to 1
independence.
drivers want to maintain their independence.
Benefits are what we're fighting
Oh my
for.
God, y'all.
Vote
Okay.
yes on
So
Prop
this
22
ad,
to
whew,
help create a better path forward.
wow,
for
yes on
drivers.
independence, protections against harassment, new disability benefits, y'all.
So what's
So
wrong with that?
let's talk
So
about
what's wrong with that ad? They were
Let's
saying a
talk
lot of
about
good
that.
things.
They did.
They're saying they're going
Right.
to do health care, protection from harassment.
Yeah.
So the guys
Basically
can hire
like
you
a
security.
Injury protection insurance. You're going to get a minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
A guaranteed minimum wage, right? They're basically going to have to pay you a certain amount. So let's talk about what Prop 22 includes.
Yeah, so what's the reality of that?
Yeah.
Because that all sounded really nice, but it was pretty vague.
The reality of that is that Prop 22, as a compromise to keeping them as independent contractors, Prop 22 also is requiring Uber, Lyft, Instacart, or any like delivery or rideshare service to also provide benefits to their workers, to their independent contractors. The first benefit is a guaranteed minimum wage. Now, what that means is they have to pay 120% of the California minimum wage, which works out to maybe about $21 an hour, right? And they only have to pay them for these engaged hours. So anytime they're driving a passenger or heading to pick up a passenger, they get paid a minimum of $21 an hour, right? That sounds kind of good, right?
I mean, it's more than the 15 people are talking about they need, right?
Exactly. Except again, drivers are not getting paid for waiting for a passenger to come. They're not getting paid for just having the app on. They're only getting paid for the hours they work. So you could have the app on for 4 hours and only get one ride for whatever reason, and that's it. You only get paid for the one ride, even though you technically were working or on the clock for Uber and Lyft for 4 hours.
Okay, but they're getting benefits and stuff though, so like that kind of counts as
Yes,
getting paid for not
technically,
working, right?
they're also getting a healthcare reimbursement of up to $400 match tax a month if they have health insurance through California covered plan. So the tricky part about this is that this like up to $400 a month, I believe it's based on like how many family members you put on insurance. One is the average cost of insurance for a family in California is $1,041 a month.
So they're paying about 40%.
They're paying about 40% of it. So it's still costing them a lot. The other tricky part about this though is when you're an employee and you have to pay a healthcare premium payment, it's all pre-tax dollars. Now this extra $400 that all these companies are giving you, which sounds so great, counts as income. You have to pay taxes on this extra $400, and you have to pay the payroll tax that we talked about earlier, the 15.3% plus state taxes plus federal taxes. That $400 is really like $250, $300.
Can we back it up a little bit and talk a little bit about the pre-tax and things like that? I mean, because it does sound cool that they're giving them benefits. If they really wanted to give them benefits, shameless plug, they should give them a vitamin inbox subscription.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that might be a nice thing for y'all to do. But like when we're talking about like this pre-tax benefit versus that, like, what am I looking at in terms of my paycheck? Because I know that it's supposed to come out of my check anyway, even if I did have a job with an employer.
Right. So if you were getting $400 reimbursed from healthcare through an employer, it would be $400 and you wouldn't be taxed on it. Right. If you're getting $400 in this situation as a gig worker, then that $400 is taxed. So that $400, you'll get 15% right off the top for self-employment tax is gone. Right. Let's do the math right now. I was going to say let's do the math right now. Right. So it's $400. So then times 0.85 because we're getting payroll tax. So that's $340.
We'll do it on screen.
$340. And then let's see, so that $340, let's add up all the tax. So it's 15.3%, right? And then let's see your federal tax. I'm looking up the federal tax brackets right now for 2021. So let's say you make $50,000. You are in the 22% tax bracket. So that's 22% of taxes.
37.3 is where we're at.
37.3. Wait, that's the marginal tax rate though. Hold on, it's a little complicated. So 15.3% plus 12% plus California state tax rate.
What is that?
California state tax rate is 7.25%. So you're paying 34% of taxes on that $400. So $400 times.
So that's about $130 some, right?
Yep, 32. Yep, it's $128 off of it. So it's $272 is what you're actually getting when they give you a $400 reimbursement because they're not covering the self-employment tax.
Whereas a job would often be covering
whole amount. A job would run it pre-tax.
And it would be pre-tax, so then you wouldn't have to worry about any of it.
And a job would run more of it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Prop 22, again, it's like this bait and switch. The other thing is technically you're supposed to be getting 30 cents mileage reimbursement, but only for the engaged hours that you're working, of course. And then the other thing that's happening
By the way, I'll pause for the cause. Just in general, folks who are listening who know how to like throw graphics up in real time, if you like us doing the math in real time, we should figure out how to do that. We should. We were thinking about, like I said, this is an experiment.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love it.
Yeah, let's keep going back to the math.
The other thing, though, is you need to at least be working 25 engaged hours a week. And to do that, they did the math, and it would take about 40 hours of actually like being on the app to do 25 engaged hours a week to be able to get the health insurance. The other thing is, what else do they get? They mentioned healthcare reimbursement. They mentioned, 25 engaged hours a week. They mentioned, the injury protection. So the injury protection insurance is another benefit. And that's basically like a version of workers' comp. So if you get injured on the job while you're driving, then you get injury protection. The thing that workers don't get, though, is we talked about payroll tax. They don't get their payroll tax covered by their employer. Their healthcare benefits are taxable, unlike if you were an employee. They don't get unemployment insurance. They don't get disability insurance, which is different from workers' comp. And they don't get to get paid while they're working, while they're actually working. They only get paid for those engaged hours.
So these cats spent hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure that they didn't have to spend billions of dollars on their workers.
Yeah, exactly. And now what's happening is, again, Dialect mentioned earlier, grocery stores in California fired all of their payrolled employees who were delivery people, and instead they signed a contract with DoorDash to use DoorDash as the main delivery people for their groceries.
Thanks, DoorDash.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we got to go to a song.
Yeah, let's take a break and go to a song. We're going to play our first song. We're going to try just playing it right from the spot here and seeing how it goes so we can give you all the info. Coming out of Trenton, New Jersey. This guy, I like their resume. Entrepreneur, personal trainer, hip-hop artist, model.
Wow.
Trenton, New Jersey. Yep. You know, doing everything. Well, not a certified financial planner. But
maybe next.
Maybe that next. Especially with this song called Payroll Taxes, about paying payroll taxes from Show Montega. Check it out, and we'll be back with you in 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Even though I'm in the streets relaxing, I'm still a CEO, paying payroll taxes. In this monkey see, monkey do, planet of the apes. If you wanna see what I do, come into my space. Come on! Even though I'm in the streets relaxing, I'm still a CEO, paying payroll taxes. In this monkey see, monkey do, planet of the apes. If you wanna see what I do, come into my space. Come on! Fair warning, this crack game's highly addictive. Certain levels that it took me, I just wasn't with it. The case got acquitted from a letter that I wrote to the judge. I ain't the type to judge or budge on the come up or even after. The kid gotta stay one up and believe in rapture. We all like drama for whatever reason other than treason. The summer season damn near had me heated. Hard to believe, but I know. Expect the unexpected. And you dyslexic if you thinking that I'm something second. Something second. Third, fourth, or fifth. Or any other number under that list. I'm the one, O&E. Knowing me started off with poetry. Sowed a seed, then it grew like, you know, a tree. They ain't see my vision at first. Now I'm followed like I'm in a hearse. Though I'm alive and well. If you wish that I fail, use a dick like Vitel. Might as well do his commentation. With all the constant hating, you full of shit, fam, constipation. Still I'm a making in this land that they used to call Obama's nation. Even though I'm in the streets relaxing, I'm still a CEO, paying payroll taxes. In this monkey see, monkey do, planet of the apes. If you wanna see what I do, come into my space. Come on! Even though I'm in the streets relaxing, I'm still a CEO, paying payroll taxes. In this monkey see, monkey do, planet of the apes. If you wanna see what I do, come into my space. Come on! Come on! Come on!
You ever see me talking on my gram or saying stuff that's coming from a humble place? Because I'm just really happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy to be free. I'm happy to be able to share my words. You know what I'm saying? Continue to push my vision. You know what I'm saying? Continue to be able to get up and have goals and be able to serve people and be able to do what I do as a person, because it could have not been that way.
Yeah, and we're back. That was Show Montega with Payroll Taxes. And I really love how artists are being more transparent about the stuff they doing. Like, that wasn't even like the whole focus of, like, you know, everything that he was talking about. But he's like, I just want y'all to know, like, I have to run my business while I'm running business.
Yep, I love it. I love it.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, y'all. We are talking about today, we just talked about Prop 22, the law that passed in California that hurt all gig workers and consumers. And we are going to be talking about the stimulus package next. But before we do that, I want to shout out Gig Workers Rising. Their Twitter is at Gig Workers Rise, gigworkersrising.org. They did a huge campaign push to vote no on Prop 22. And since it passed, they actually put out an app for all drivers to be able to download and know what the benefits they are getting from Prop 22 and make sure they actually take advantage of them.
So you know your rights. You know, what's interesting about Gig Workers Rising, while I'm really interested in talking to them and finding out more stuff from those cats, is I've been saying for a minute now, as this gig economy thing has begun to blow up, this has been a way to finally kind of beat the union. So like sidestep and get around. And I've been saying for a while, I'm not, you know, that's not how my mind works. We need some sort of organizing model that's like unions, but is modernized. And what this gig workers union folk or gig workers folk are talking about seems like a new version of what the unions used to be doing.
Yes, that's exactly what they're trying to do. Is right now they're trying to make, because as an independent contractor, you can't unionize. Yeah. Because you're an independent contractor, right? You're self-employed. So they're trying to change the laws around that. The other thing that you can do is, this only happened in California. We saw the fallout from what happened in California. One thing that I didn't mention is that Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all of these places threatened to raise prices if Prop 22 didn't pass. They said rates are going to go up. It's going to cost you more to get these services, all of this stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, right?
You know, they were saying the same thing.
They said they were going to pull out of California, all of the stuff. They were sending all of these threats. Well, guess what happened? Prop 22 passed, and the cost to fund Prop 22 are getting passed on to the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Uber and Lyft and DoorDash are all charging between 99 cents to $2 more per delivery or per ride to make up for the cost of these extra benefits.
Is it to make up for the cost of these extra benefits, or were they just planning on doing a rate increase
anyway?
And they wanted to tie it to some publicity to make it seem like it was y'all fault.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, can we add gaslighting to the bill?
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, you gave us what we wanted? Here, we're going to charge you more for your shit.
Mm-hmm. Because we said we was going to charge you more, and just because you got spooked into thinking that we were going to charge you more, we charge you more.
And that's just what happened.
But that's the thing, though. When you undercut the competition to the point where you're the only game in town, well, then you get to charge whatever you want.
Yeah, and that's where we're at. So let's switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the stimulus check. Let's talk about,
yes.
I don't know if it's more positive, but.
Well, I mean, hey, there are a lot of people who are like, I'm glad that we got anything at all. So, we got $600.
Right. We got
supposedly
$600.
$1,400 more. And other folks are like, nah, make it $2,000 more. We want to see.
Well, we'll see. Joe Biden's plan is nothing is set in stone, as we saw the back and forth with the second stimulus package. We were just waiting for people to sign the bill.
But, but just, like a nice pair of gray sweatpants, it's not just the 6, it's a whole package you're getting, right?
We are getting a whole package.
Tell us about the package.
I'm just laughing because Dialect is wearing gray sweatpants right now.
Why you gotta put me out there like that? They're like a dark gray. It's classy.
It's classy. It's a classy version.
Right.
All right, so let's start with the stimulus check. You have heard the number. It's $600 per person, including children. So if you, for instance, have 2 adults in your household and 2 children, you'd be getting a $2,400 check. For a lot of us, it was already direct deposited into our account, especially if you filed your 2019 taxes online and you received your tax refund or paid your tax liability with a bank account. So some people saw that come in. Otherwise, if you didn't, if you go to irs.gov/coronavirus/economic-impacts-payments, or just Google, where's my stimulus check, honestly, then you'll get a link to the IRS to figure out where your stimulus check is and when it's coming. If you didn't have that direct deposit, then you're probably going to get a literal check in the mail. They are basically phasing out. So if you made more than $75,000 or $150,000 as a married filing jointly, then you are not getting your full $600. You're getting a reduced amount. And then if you made more than $87,000 as an individual, you don't get a $600 check at all. So if you're waiting for your stimulus check, it may be that you just got phased out of it.
Yeah, you made too much money. That's what they mean by phased out. If you make anywhere between $75,000 and $87,500, then you're going to get a reduced rate.
Yeah.
Adjusted, I think it was $100 to every $5.
Yeah, for every $100 of income. Yep, exactly. And then this is based on your 2019 returns. Now, some people are asking, well, I never even got my first stimulus check, right? We didn't get our first stimulus check.
We didn't get our first stimulus check.
We didn't get our first. The thing about these stimulus checks, though, is they are what's known as a tax credit advance. So what that means is, 1, your stimulus check is not taxed because it's not considered income. It's considered a tax credit. And they just gave it to you ahead of time, which is the advance part.
Yeah,
right?
It's not something that you're going to have to pay back. It's not that type of advance. It's not like you got a book deal.
Yeah, exactly. It is basically, hey, we wanted to give you this tax credit, but it's not tax filing time yet. So instead, we're going to do that. So the next thing is, if you didn't get your first or second stimulus check because your 2019 income was too high, and because COVID happened in 2020, a lot of people's income actually went down in 2020, even though they technically made too much money in 2019. When you file your taxes for 2020, you will get that tax credit within your tax refund. So you should see your stimulus check in that tax refund if you didn't get either one. It'll all be reconciled there.
And again, that's if you made the right amount of money.
If you made the right amount of money, yeah. So for the first stimulus check, it's if you made $99,000 or less. For the second stimulus check, it's if you made $75,000 or less. You get the full amount of the stimulus checks.
If you were over 100K for both time periods, congratulations.
You're surviving COVID.
You're
surviving the pandemic.
You're doing all right.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
I know you still got stuff too, but you're doing all right.
Yeah.
It's just nice when you can like sip our tea. It's like a little brunchy kind of thing.
It's a little brunchy.
It's a liquid brunch.
I'm having a rooibos chai right now with some oat milk. It's delicious.
Mine is just some old hibiscus leaves thrown in a bag. What? That's what it is.
Oh my God.
You
just made it sound so appetizing.
That's right. That's my job. I'm the brunch part. You're the budget part.
There you go. So the next thing you want to talk about is unemployment. Unemployment got extended, thank goodness.
So you mean unemployment insurance?
Unemployment insurance.
I definitely know that unemployment got extended for those of you who are unemployed. Right.
Yeah. Anyway, unemployment insurance got extended. The thing about unemployment is, one, we saw those extra $600 checks through July 31st. Those stopped, but state unemployment continued to pay. But state unemployment insurance only was guaranteed through December 31st because that's how the stimulus package was written.
That's how
we all were hoping that we didn't need it anymore by then, and here we are, right? So it's 2021. They set up extended unemployment. They added an extra 11 weeks, and on top of that 11 weeks, there's an extra $300 every week of additional pandemic unemployment assistance.
Now that's
if you collect state
300.
insurance.
It's 300, not 600. But hey,
yeah, it's something more, right? And the thing about the $300 is you qualify for the $300 of extra unemployment a week if you file for any amount of unemployment. So if you are fully unemployed or partially unemployed, any amount in between, you'll get the state unemployment, whatever that prorated amount is, but you get the full $300 a week for 11 weeks. So do it. Also, this round of unemployment still applies to gig workers. So that's one of the huge changes.
I feel like that's going to need to be permanent.
It's going to need to be permanent. And we see that now, especially we just talked about Prop 22, right? We talked about gig workers getting less and less benefits, even though they should be classified as employees. So what we can do is we can push for unemployment insurance to extend to not just employees, but to extend to independent contractors as well.
Yeah, but no, I really think that that's going to be a thing. It's like, what was the stat by like 2050, 70% of folks will be gig economy workers, or maybe like
2020.
By 2020, they
40% of workers would be gig economy workers or would be independent contractors. That's something the Freelancers Union did a study about 4 years ago, actually.
Have we gone back and tracked that? It's like,
I don't know if that's true, but 2020 came and went, right? And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
don't pull stats out your behind, y'all. You saw I was way off with that. I feel like I had it doubled.
I was like 20. I don't know where he's going.
I think I was mixing that with the road to zero wealth.
I think you were too. That's a depressing stat.
I'm sure they're going to work well together.
Yeah, I'm
stats.
Sure they will.
They team up like.
We should just do a sad stats episode. No, that's terrible. Anyway, there's too many sad stats. It would be a whole podcast.
No.
So the thing about unemployment is you have to file every week. It's different qualifications for every state. In New York State, you have to work less than 4 days a week and make less than $504 a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, every state is different. I think in California, you have to make less than $450. So really just check with your state. If you're already collecting unemployment and you're filing every week, you don't have to do anything different.
So, but what about like this other stuff that we get? What about like PPPs and EIDLs? Are they going to mess with our unemployment? Can we do those at the same time? That's the big conversation, right?
That is the big conversation. That's the question we get all the time is, can you do PPP and unemployment?
Can we?
And the answer is, we think yes, but not at the same time. So again, there was no guidance in the second stimulus package.
To be transparent, because the IRS already knows, we are.
We did.
Well, not exactly at the same time.
Not at the same time, though.
This was our thought process. What we decided was we can take unemployment when we're not making money, right?
Yes.
So the PPP period is a time when you're making income. So during the time that you're getting your PPP, it's usually like a week of income.
Well, 2.5 months.
Oh, yeah. So why?
Yeah, you for PPP, the amount we qualify for is up to 2.5 times payroll.
Right.
Yeah, so you can time it so that you collect income within 2.5 months, and then you can collect unemployment after. Now, there are some situations, if you want to be really aggressive about it, where just like Dialect was saying, you can say, I made all of my income through PPP in a week, and then collect unemployment afterwards.
Yeah, well, because I was just saying that's what our plan is.
Yes.
We have it set up where
we're pretty aggressive.
But the numbers lined up for us. We were like, that was like a week's worth of income. Yep. And then it ran out, and then we're collecting unemployment for the part after that. We were working some of that, but we weren't actually getting paid.
We'll go into this, but the tricky part about the PPP calculation amount is it's not based on your gross income. It's not based on the income you made or your revenue. Yeah. It's based on your income after you've taken all your business deductions. So we'll go into what the hell that means.
Okay, yeah. So now let's pull it back and break it down.
Yes, yeah. Now we got a question though.
Oh, yeah, from Hamza. Shoot, I didn't get no stimulus at all. I thought as an unemployment disabled vet, I would get it automatically. Any info on that?
Yes, let's talk about that. So one is you should be able to collect unemployment insurance. I would go on your state's unemployment website and see how you can qualify for unemployment insurance, because that's the one thing is you should be able to collect the extra $300 a week plus full unemployment if you're unemployed disabled vet.
But he's going to have to apply for that. That one isn't on it.
Yeah, and you may already be on it. Yeah, if you're on it still, then it's just going to continue going. Just make sure to file every week. If you're not on it, I would go back and check. The other thing is the stimulus check is they only sent it out immediately if you had direct deposit available. So if you set up direct deposit to receive a tax refund in 2019, that's how you get your stimulus check.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing is, if they're sending out regular checks, you probably didn't get it yet because those regular checks haven't been sent out. So you can Google, where's my stimulus check? And then you can just go to, scroll down a little bit. There it is. So search for this one. There we go.
That's at irs.gov.
Yeah, so this is the link to find your stimulus check payment and figure out where it is. You can also just Google where's my stimulus check, and this is probably one of the first links that pops up. But I would look that up for sure.
Yeah, go ahead and make sure to advocate for yourself on that, because they're not just going to automatically give it to you. Because, you know, even when you are a vet, they don't have your back.
What we did talk about earlier, though, is make sure you file your taxes in 2020, because if you didn't get either stimulus check, it's a tax credit. So you will get that stimulus check amount in your tax refund this year. So that's the other thing, is it's not lost forever. It's just you might not get it at the same time that everyone else is getting it.
Yes, and thanks for bringing that up. We really appreciate it, so we can put all this stuff together.
Yes, exactly. All right, the next thing is student loan payments were deferred through January 31st.
Oh, thank you.
They keep extending it. First it was deferred through September, then it was deferred through the end of the year, then it's deferred through, I guess, 2 weeks from now. So you may have to start making your payments in February, although there is, you know, Biden has been talking about student loans a lot in his plan, so we don't know what's going to happen. I say we hang tight through the inauguration and see what the first 100 days look like. If you're in a place where come January 31st, you're like, shit, I still can't pay my student loans. The thing you can do if they're federal student loans, which all of them are if you are getting the student loan deferment, is you can apply for income-driven repayment. And if your income went down at all, or if you're unemployed, your income-driven repayment program will also go to $0. Now, that doesn't mean that it will not accrue interest, but it means you can continue to defer the payments.
I got an idea.
What's your idea?
This might not be the best idea, but it's an idea.
Okay.
So, you know how folks like to be like, oh, call your senator and call your official and, you know, say a thing, and they'll put together a script, right?
Yeah.
I'm asking all of you poets out there, all you wordsmith people, I want you to harass and annoy your local politicians with your poems about what happens to a student loan deferred. Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? You know, just go off, go off on a whole thing with it, and just like run poems into their behind until they just like, all right, stop. We're tired of hearing all this deaf poetry stuff, and they just give us what we want.
That's great. I love it.
Bars for a cause.
Bars for a cause. Let's use art to defer our student loan payments and cancel them altogether.
I'm saying, right?
Yes. I'm going to do that. Hell yeah.
Yes.
I want to hear it.
The revolution will be podcasted.
The revolution will be podcasted.
You know it was.
It's true. And TikTok, all of that stuff. The other thing that they did extend on a federal level is there's no eviction through January 31st on a federal level. Thank goodness. So if you were in the middle of eviction proceedings, or if you were about to get evicted, you have until the end of the month. But every state also took action on this individually. So for instance, in New York State, they actually extended the evictions and foreclosure moratorium through May 1st, 2021.
I was happy that they tied those things together.
Yes, exactly. So if you're in the middle of an eviction or the middle of foreclosure in New York State, then that is extended, that is delayed again through May 1st, 2021. So if you are in a position where you still can't pay your rent, keep talking to your landlord. They can't kick you out anyway. If you can pay what you can, that's great. If you can't pay anything for now, just hang tight and see what happens.
You know, there's the thing about how federally it's more about worrying about the tenants, but like more local, statewide, we're talking to the landlords and stuff too, because we do have to be a unit. We have to be a team here.
We do.
I know it's often very much like one versus the other. And when it's a big corporation who owns it and you don't even know who it is, probably, you know, they're the up. But when it's just like family or just some people, you know, that kindly old couple who you rent the upstairs from and things like that, please start talking to them.
We're the kindly old couple.
We're that. I mean, to be real, we're landlords and we have a tenant, and we talk to them and we want them to continue to talk to us, tenant, about stuff, because when we have those lines of communication open, we can fight the real oppressors.
No, it's true.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's so true. So the other thing is, if you're donating to charity, the above the line charitable contribution deduction was extended through 2021. So that means if you contribute $300 to charity, then you get the deduction automatically.
That's a new thing. I don't know if y'all knew that we couldn't do that before, really.
Yeah, before, it wasn't above the line. Before, if you donated to charity, then you would have had to itemize your deductions, which I don't even know if I want to go into that right now.
That's a whole big thing. I was just saying,
that's a whole big thing.
It was not easy for the average person to be able to contribute to charity and then deduct.
Yes, it's true. So I want to talk about PPP loans.
Okay, before we do that, can we take a break?
Let's take a break.
Let me run a song. We got a next song that we're going to play. This is about your stimulus check. And we found this cat. This just came out on January 11th. This artist named the Stimmy God featuring El Dialogue DiCaprio. I guess I'm saying that name right. With their song Stimmy, Stimulus Checks. And I'll check that out for a quick second. And then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about PPP. And what else do we have to talk about today?
PPP, EIDL.
Oh,
any questions y'all have?
PPP, EIDL, and any questions that y'all got. So check out the song and we'll be back in a minute.
Did you drop? Oh, yeah. What? I want my Stimmy. I want Stimmy. I want my Stimmy. I be like, give me. I want my Stimmy. I want Stimmy. I want my Stimmy. Stimmy. Running my penny. I don't care if it's just $100. I don't care if it's just $200. I don't care if it's just $300. $400. Run me my dollars. I don't care if it's just $500. I don't care if it's just $300. I don't care if it's $700. $800. Run me my dollars. Yo, hop in my collar. Run me my check and run me my dollars. Proper. And I'm not sharing. I might just get fresh and I hope you're not staring. Yo, we know the good shady with the love, holding back true. You just sprinkle us with the touch. I ain't political, but I'm just being modest. I pay my taxes, so run me my deposits. I want to see me. I want my Stimmy. I be like, give me. I want my Stimmy. I want Stimmy. I want my Stimmy. Run me my penny. I don't care if it's just $100. I don't care if it's just $200. I don't care if it's just $300. $400. Run me my dollars. I don't care if it's just $500. I don't care if it's just $800. I don't care if it's $700. $800. Run me my dollars. Just like a shopper, might blow my Stimmy on something and just pop up. Yo, hate to stay stressing cause they swear they gonna spend their little Stimmy on investments. Yes, if you do, gon' do it then. But if you don't feel like you wanna do it, you ain't wrong, man. There's a whole lot tracking. I wanna bust it down to one so I can stack it. Yeah, I wanna Stimmy. I wanna Stimmy. I be like, give me. I want my Stimmy. I want Stimmy. I want my Stimmy. Running my penny. I don't care if it's just $100. I don't care if it's just $200. I don't care if it's just $300. $400. Run me my dollars. I don't care if it's just $500. I don't care if it's just $600. I don't care if it's $700.
I want my Stimmy. I mean, Stimmy God, love to you. I care how much it is, but that Stimmy God featuring El Dialogue DiCaprio with the Stimmy. Well, I wanted to share that just because I thought it was interesting that, I love hearing the perspective of folks who are making these joints about how we're feeling. There's so much emotion around these things and it's so much frustration. It's one of those ill things about how, when you're in a bad relationship with somebody and they don't really give you much, they don't really treat you well, they don't get you food and take care of you. And then, they give you the littlest something. And
you're like, okay. Yeah. It's like cell phone companies, right? It's like all the cell phone companies that sucked and they overcharge you and their plans are stupid and you try to leave and they're like, oh, wait, we'll give you a free phone. But
you can hear why. There are folks who are so stressed out and so frustrated they want something. It is about the money, but it's not as much about the money. It's about acknowledgement.
Right.
So many of us just need to be acknowledged in a physical, human, and financial way.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah, so I get it.
So shout out, we understand Stimmy God speaking for how we all feel.
Take the money. Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of taking the money, how can we get this PPP? Because it's technically a loan, but it's a forgivable loan. So that's really a grant as long as you can.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about that part first. So PPP loan forgiveness, because we are also entering the time where if you got your PPP loan in the first round, then you're able to get it forgiven. And they loosened and streamlined a lot of the process. So if your loan amount was $150,000 or less, which I believe like 80% of the PPP loans were $150,000 or less, you can actually apply for loan forgiveness using a single one-page form, and you don't have to send any backup information to it.
Because really, even though they call it a forgivable loan, the forgiveness is supposed to be the default.
Yes, exactly, especially with these PPPs. So apply as soon as your bank or your lender allows you to. A lot of banks are putting their forgiveness application online, so it's literally just like submitting it and then waiting for forgiveness to happen. Brunch and Budget just did it a month ago, and we're just waiting for the forgiveness to go through. The other thing is, remember those EIDL grants, those economic injury disaster loan grants where you got like $1,000 or something for free, and it was a grant? Well, originally in the stimulus package, the CARES Act last time, if you got $1,000 from EIDL, that means that you couldn't take $1,000 of the PPP loan forgiveness. So you'd have to pay back that $1,000 in PPP if you got the EIDL grant. They took that away. You no longer have to pay back that amount. So both of them are true grants. The only thing with PPP is you have to make sure you apply. Automatic loan forgiveness does not happen with PPP. You have to apply. So look out for emails from your bank and lender. A lot of them are sending them out right now. So now let's talk about getting the second PPP loan.
So it's the second draw is what it's called from the PPP loan.
Yes, it's round 2. So if you didn't borrow last year, if you missed the deadline or you didn't think you wanted the PPP because it was all convoluted, you still can. If you're a first-time borrower, as long as you have less than 500 employees and you had business operations in 2019, you can borrow up to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll.
And it's a little bit more stringent for the second draw if you've already gotten one.
Yes, exactly. So if you're self-employed and you want to do PPP for the first time, then you just need to make sure that your 2019 tax returns are filed and you had a positive number on your Schedule C, line 31.
Okay. How do you find line 31?
Woo, that was a lot, right?
Where's that at?
Yeah, so if you go into your tax return in 2019, and I'm sure you all pour over your tax returns as soon as you receive them, and don't just ignore the email that you received from your accountant. So let's revisit your tax returns again. Dialect's going to pull up a Schedule C right now. Are we going to have visuals, Dialect?
We're going to do visuals.
Oh my God.
We're going to pull up a Schedule C form straight up from iris.gov, our good friends.
I hope I'm right about the line number.
Well, we gonna see. Well, that's what it is. It's all about verification. We don't need the validation unless we actually are correct.
Oh my God, this is so cool. Thank you, StreamYard, for being so cool. Okay, so net profit or loss, line 31 right here. If you see that, if there's a positive number in line 31, then you qualify for the PPP loan. Now, the way to calculate how much you qualify for is you take that number in line 31, you divide it by 12. So let's say that number is $12,000 in line 31. You divide it by 12. Right? And that's $1,000. Mm-hmm. And then you multiply $1,000 by 2.5, which is the max amount you're allowed to borrow. So that means that you're allowed to borrow $2,500 under PPP if you made $12,000 on line 31 in your Schedule C.
So it's I only got the first part divided by 12
and then multiplied by 2.5. Now, the best part about all of these electronic applications is they will calculate all of these for you. They'll tell you how much you qualify for in PPP loan as long as you report whatever you have on line 31. So there you go. We just pulled up a tax form. Yay! Yes.
That's what you got to do for it.
That's what you got to do for it. Exactly. I love it. So that is whether you're a first-time borrower or a second-time borrower. That is how you calculate that amount. If you got your PPP in the first round and you lost money in 2020 compared to 2019, you have to show that you have lost at least 25% of your income between 2019 and 2020.
Yeah, it's not just that you lost money, it's that your income went down.
Amount. Yes, exactly.
Your income went down by 25%.
Yeah, so if you're a second-time borrower, what that means is if you made $100,000 in 2019 and you made $75,000 in 2020, you qualify for a second round of PPP. The calculation for the amount is the same, so line 31 on Schedule C divided by 12 multiplied by 2.5. Mm-hmm. And again, every online one place where you can apply. Every bank, every lender who does this online will calculate for you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Great.
The thing you do have to prove if you want to borrow for the second time is you have to submit P&L statements. So that's profit and loss statements. Yep. And you have to show that the same quarter in 2020 that the income went down the exact same quarter compared to 2019.
So if you had a March and then you're comparing it only to, not March, excuse me.
Yeah, January through March.
The first quarter, January through March. You can only compare that to first quarter. You can't compare the first quarter to your third quarter.
Exactly.
Because there's other reasons why you would have lost money there.
Right. So you have to compare the same quarters between 2019 and 2020. If you lost income overall.
And what sucks about that is there are some people where it did matter for the specific quarter because of specific stuff that happened in Corona. I know and I get it, but they don't care. Yeah. It's easier for them.
These are the rules. So that's PPP. And we do highly recommend that you apply for, if the first time around if you didn't do it, definitely do it. The second time around, if you qualify, definitely do it. If you're trying to collect unemployment too, the PPP loan deadline is 3/31/2021. And I believe unemployment ends just before that.
And remember, even if you don't know how to get the thing together and you're worried about, what if I don't get the loan forgiven? Even if you're not able to get the loan forgiven, it has the best interest rate you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's a 1% interest rate and you pay it back over 5 years. Yeah, so even if you don't get it forgiven, you can either pay it back or you can just pay back the loan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The final thing I want to talk about is EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This was actually part of the first stimulus package in the CARES Act, and it's still available.
It was hard to distinguish from the PPP the first time around.
It was. They mixed them up a lot. Mm-hmm. That's why. And it was hard to distinguish what qualified for EIDL. The thing about EIDL is those grants are gone, but the loan is still available. And the thing about the loan that is kind of amazing is, one, there's no collateral required. So you don't have to you don't have to prove that your business is making a certain amount of money or that it has any profits or anything like that, like a traditional business loan. They just give it to you based on your credit score and if you have 6 months worth of business income, basically. Mm-hmm. So the terms are, it's a 30-year loan at 3.75% interest, and you can borrow up to $150,000. They calculate the EIDL amount different. It's line 1 on your Schedule C, your gross receipts. So whatever number is in your gross receipts, line 1, so let's say it's $100,000, that means you can get a $50,000 PPP loan. What that means is you get this loan, you don't have to start paying it back for at least another year. And the loan terms are you pay back over 30 years and you pay 3.75% interest. So just to give you an idea, Brunch and Budget took an EIDL loan. We got $146,000 and our loan payment that's going to start in a year is about $700 a month for $146,000 to borrow. And you can use that basically to run your business. You can use it for operating expenses. You can use it for anything. The only thing is that you're required to get some kind of business liability insurance if your loan is more than $25,000. So basically they want to say hey, we want to know that our loan is protected and the equipment that you have is protected and all of those things. And it's honestly a small price to pay. We have to pay $700 a year to get this business liability insurance.
If I already have business liability insurance,
you just send it to them.
Are we good? We just share it? We don't have to get a new thing just because of that. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like EIDL is one of those forgotten loans that really is well worth taking advantage of as a business owner. We haven't seen loans like this in the past. Just to compare, usually a business loan will only lend you money for terms that are 2 to 3 years long, and their interest rates are usually in the 10s or in the 20s sometimes, depending on your credit score. The lowest business loan rates I've seen are 8 or 9%.
So it's kind of just like the PPP thing, where worst come to worst, the terms are really good.
Yeah, just pay the loan back, and you don't have to pay it back for 30 years. So it's kind of amazing.
What about folks who are just have an emotional aversion to debt, which is a lot of us because we've been taught to.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it has kept us out of disaster, but it's also been something that inhibits us from taking the next step.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up because any kind of debt, especially right now, feels like it's really scary to take on.
I'm saying, right?
Right. Yeah. And so the thing that's about EIDL, the thing about debt in general, when the terms are like this, is I like to think of debt as leverage. Mm-hmm. So especially if you're in a place where you know that you're going to need some money for the business in the next couple of years, this kind of loan is amazing because it allows you to leverage the federal government essentially to keep running your business. Mm-hmm. So for instance, Brunch and Budget, the reason we borrowed the money is to make sure that in the next year or two, we are going to be able to weather whatever happened during COVID. And so it wasn't necessarily something that we like needed at the time, but it's something that we kind of got as a way to assure that we were going to be okay, even if something happened in the business. And that's really what I would use the EIDL for if you're in that situation, is like, you need to make sure that you pay yourself personally, that you can continue to run the business. And EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, is for these types of situations, is for things like global pandemics, you know?
I guess that's what the economic injury disaster part of EIDL is, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. So yeah, so that's the stimulus package. That's where we're at.
So it's a lot of stuff, actually. Some of it is the same thing or reiterations of what we had in the spring. And then there's some new stuff attached. There's some extensions. And I mean, it's what we got. I don't think that it's enough yet. And we should continue to pressure the new administration to send not only money, but also programs that are going to work out for us.
Yeah.
Any other things that we should be thinking and worried about when it comes to the stimulus packages and making sure that we're financially solvent so we can make this next year not feel like last year?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that came up is like, what should I do with my stimulus check, or what should I do with my PPP?
Yeah,
what should
everybody
I do with
had something
stuff,
about, right? Everybody been telling me, yo, you should take your stimulus check and then flip it, you put it into this thing and buy this Ethereum and then maybe pay off your debt and then put a loan down on a house and then start a business. I mean, there's just like all this stuff that folks want you to do with it. And what's the real about that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about these stimulus checks right now is the first thing is, or any of this income, the PPP money, the EIDL loan, is first and foremost to take care of yourself, right? Take care of your bills. You don't have to throw money in your credit card debt. You don't have to throw money into savings and like hope that it stays. The thing right now is like, make sure that you're taking care of your health and your sanity, and that you're covering your bills, you're keeping a roof over your head, right? And so that's the first thing. The next thing is, right now, I recommend that you keep money in savings as much as possible and don't worry about paying down consumer debt. So don't worry about paying down your credit cards right now. If you're not already on a debt pay down plan, an extra $600 towards your credit card debt is not going to make enough of a dent. You're going to rather have that money in savings.
I'm not going to bring it up. I was going to bring it up. We were talking before about there's like this Kiplinger article. If you're not familiar with Kiplinger, that was the guy who wrote the Jungle Book. It's a story about how some dude destroys the jungle. Yeah. Anyway, the Kiplingers, they wrote this thing about some money smart ways for you to be able to deal with your check, and it was like save for retirement, pay down your credit cards, and
give it to charity.
Yeah, the big thing with this stuff is, look, if you're not already doing that, this $600 check is not going to make a dent.
Yeah.
It's not going to be able to get you to kickstart the thing you're doing because you're not getting more checks, so it's not going to be sustainable. We always advocate for, if you're going to start a new economic habit, to do it when it's hard. Because if you can do it when it's hard or just when times are regular, then you'll be able to do it when you get windfalls. Don't use windfalls as like a Kickstarter because it's not going to work. You're going to be back on Kickstarter again next year begging again.
Yep, exactly. And on that note,
let's go to our last joint.
Yeah.
Any other things that we want to wrap about for? I mean, we're happy to be back with y'all.
We'll be back
again
here next week, y'all.
Check us out on spondulix.org. You can check out the podcast, listening to it, check out all of these wonderful artists. If you are an artist who has some music that talks about finance or racial economic inclusion or the confluence of them, please send them to us. We're findable. You know how to get at us. And if you don't, then ask somebody who asked somebody. You ought to know. Our last song is in Folsom, California, for this crew called Abeli Amon and their song Living Ways. Check it out, and we'll check you next week. Sure.
I think so.
Next week, if you're not tired of us by then. So let's play this jam and get on out of your way. Living Wage, Abeli Amon, and we are Punch and Budget Podcast, part of the Race and Wealth Network.
In exchange for an honest day, but they Trickle down never trickle down. Yeah, we got jobs, but our problems are bigger now. See, we're trying to figure out how these little rates that we're paid haven't raised with inflation. You kick us down a few nickels now. Call that a raise? For the only thing that rose is the mob, and we fickle now. COVID just exposed that we've grown sicker now.
All we wanted was a living wage.
What I propose is to find a CEO and take his head with a sickle now. Justice is wicked now. It's just us. If you never would have busted our unions, we'd simmer down. Instead, boil over. Skip fall, summer's over, it's winter now. We're coming down your chimney now.
All we wanted was a living wage.
Been on hold over 1,000 hours trying to get through to the unemployment office without a sound.
No sign of competent life. Hang up the phone, we're at the governor's front door. Kick it down. Go ahead, kidnap him. Wrap him up. He's supposed to work for us. Drop him off at his office and tell him to get back in. Back to work. We gotta pay our back rent.
All we wanted was a living wage.
And don't worry about them badges with the little smoke grenade flashes. They work for us too. No need to run, stand tall. They want to flash guns like we ain't got none. What'd you think? We sold them all? Nah, we're infinite. You heard of hell? Well, we were sent from it. Not even gonna make an attempt to repent from it. We've come to raise it till our raises match the rate of inflation. That's a minimum of $22.50 an hour, according to our calculations. Done with patience.
All we wanted was a living wage in exchange for an honest day, but they don't value our worth, so we are trapped at work for this minimal pay. All we wanted was a living wage in exchange for an honest